Good day, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Guy Manspeed, and this is Mobile VR Reviews. This week we're taking a look at the early access release of Fusion Wars, a cyber tank co-op battle game that I know a lot of people are curious about. Fusion Wars is developed by eStudio Future, and this early access version was released for the GearVR on December 15th, 2016, and is currently available for $6.99. eStudio Future is based in Madrid, Spain, was founded in 2009, and focuses on creating VR content with applications to games, narratives, and amusement parks, among other things. The complete version of Fusion Wars is expected to launch by the end of February 2017, and this will also include a version for the Oculus Rift. The basic concept of Fusion Wars is simple. At its core, it's a first-person tank-based arcade shooter. You zoom through 6 Tron-inspired citadels, clearing out waves of relentless robotic enemies with the ultimate objective of capturing the fusion core in each stage. Your tank is equipped with 2 types of weapons, a short-range beam that you can fire continuously, and a long-range blaster that fires projectiles and requires a cooldown after a couple seconds of use. Health pickups are scattered across the stages in the form of these green orbs, and you also have a turbo boost that is very useful for getting out of tight spots. The difficulty progression is fair but swift. You start off facing only the basic drones in the first stage, but are already fighting these kamikaze droids by stage 2, and these things will continue to be the bane of your existence for the duration of the game. Shielded enemies and robot-spawning portals join the fray, and larger enemies appear as bosses, sub-bosses, and then semi-regular enemies in the later stages. The game has 4 difficulty settings, from cadet to insane, but already the last stage is brutally unrelenting on even the easiest setting. You'll have to beat all 6 stages on each difficulty setting to unlock the higher levels one by one, so expect to be here a while. The pace of gameplay quickly reaches a frantic level where you have to both avoid enemy projectiles and kamikaze bots, while at the same time prioritizing threats and making strafing runs to clear out the area. To do this, you'll need to become a damn good pilot. Driving forward and turning while shooting at things won't get you very far. Your crosshair only tracks through the front window, so forget about circling enemies and turning your head to do drive-bys. If you have experience with first-person shooters, your instinct will be to circle strafe, but unfortunately this will be impossible, at least in the normal sense. Your survival will depend on mastering the slide, which will let you move in one direction while shooting in another. This, plus strategically turbo boosting out of hopeless situations, as well as knowing how to separate enemies and pick targets, are the keys to victory. But that's just the single-player aspects. Fusion Wars is being promoted as a co-op arcade shooter, and that's where things get interesting. Joining or creating an online or local network co-op session lets you team up with up to 3 other players, which helps take the heat off you. However, the novel mechanic here is the ability to fuse your tank together with a partner. The player who requests the fusion becomes the gunner, while the other becomes the driver. The gunner gets access to some powerful but slow-firing weapons, and can shoot in any direction, so the driver can focus on staying out of harm's way. Most of the footage you see here is from a local network co-op game, and it's loads of fun taking on the robotic hordes with a partner, but I never got online multiplayer to work properly. First, this game is new and early access, so finding a random game takes some luck. Second, when I got a friend to join an online game, the 1 to 2 second lag made the game unplayable. My internet connection isn't the greatest, but I've played Wands, Overflight, Anshar Wars, Disc League, and tons of Overwatch on PC, and all were perfectly playable with nowhere near this level of lag. Third, the voice chat feature should let you coordinate with your partners in battle, but was so full of static that it was unusable, and I know I'm not the only player who's experienced that. I hope the developers optimize the online multiplayer aspects, whatever that entails, because the multiplayer co-op is a real strong point of this game, and is an absolute joy when it works. Everything I've mentioned so far has related to the co-op Fusion Worlds play mode, which is the only mode available in the early access release. The other play mode mentioned is Core Battles, and will allow players to battle competitively. This, plus further features and improvements, are promised for the final release of the game in February. Fusion Wars requires a gamepad. Like N-Space and Omega Agent, this is a cockpit shooter, meaning you're sat in the pilot seat and only expected to turn your head maximum 180 degrees. The left stick handles turning, while buttons and triggers handle acceleration, deceleration, turbos, weapons, and fusion. 2 control schemes are available, one that uses triggers to control speed and buttons to shoot, and another that uses buttons to control speed and triggers to shoot. The controls are not customizable any further, but depending on your gaming background, one of these should feel pretty natural to you. Regardless of how natural the control scheme feels, you'll still need to practice to use it effectively. Slide strafing is accomplished by gaining forward speed, then holding the accelerate and brake buttons together, then turning with the stick. You'll continue in your formerly forward direction, but be able to shoot all around. By carefully letting off the brake and feathering the turbo boost, you can continue to move and shoot in different directions while staying out of harm's way. Add in strategically switching weapons depending on range and cooldowns, and these controls will require an expert precision and timing to get the most out of your tank. But when you get everything just right, it's quite rewarding. It's slightly reminiscent of the old school side-scrolling shooters, where there's carnage all around you and you have to avoid damage and return fire in a ballet of destruction. Except here, you're sat right in the middle of it. The graphics are stellar. The levels, while fairly linear, are quite large, whether they're sprawling cyber complexes or massive stadiums. The colors are bright glowing neon against dark grays and blues, and again, I really can't say anything other than, it looks like Tron. The enemy models are quite detailed, but you usually don't get close enough to them or see them still enough to appreciate it. When your tank explodes, you can see the enemies hover by and you'll notice a lot more fine detail and texturing. All enemies share the same dark gray and glowing red color palette, which gets a little boring, but at least you always know what to shoot at. And it's a necessity since the other colors are saved for the tanks of your co-op partners. As a final note on the graphics, I have to mention the beautiful cockpit that's also completely functional. The holographic radar directly in front of you tells you where your friends and enemies are, and the turbo and health bars on the canopy pillars are conveniently placed but stay out of the way. A screen to your left shows you who else is in the game with you, and on your right you can see how many lives you have left and any upgrades you've purchased. Even the floor of the cockpit is modeled in detail. The transaxles that drive the tank treads spin when you move. You'll almost never look at the cockpit floor, but it's a very cool detail. Like the graphics, the sound design is similarly well crafted. Weapons have just enough punch to convey power, and the zooming sound made by vehicles has a nice cyber-mechanical feel to it. The enemies themselves don't make much noise other than the low engine hum and weapon sounds, with the exception of the kamikaze droids. These things continuously emit an electronic scream that changes pitch as they close in on you. It's mildly irritating at first, but with enough practice you'll be able to tell how closely they're following you and if any are about to explode, all without actually looking at them. Despite the developers' best efforts to make this game as comfortable as possible, it definitely isn't for everybody. The comfort options apply a tunnel vision effect when you turn the tank in an effort to reduce the motion seen in your peripheral vision. At least that's what I think they're trying to do. That's the only real difference I noticed between the comfort settings, and it didn't really make a difference to me personally. I've actually been able to play Fusion Wars for sessions lasting over an hour without a break and not become sick, but I know this won't be the same reaction everybody has. My girlfriend tried this and couldn't take more than 10 minutes of it before the motion sickness became unbearable, even with comfort settings on max. This game will produce roughly the same motion sickness as other cockpit shooters simply because there is motion in great excess to what your body is feeling. If you can handle N-Space, VR Kart Sprint, or Overflight, you can probably handle this. And if you can play Quake on the GearVR for a solid 30 or 40 minutes, Fusion Wars will be a walk in the park. Fusion Wars is an example of the kind of games we need more of. The beautiful set pieces go a long way, but it's the immersive gameplay and the sense of agency that makes it a winner. You're free to move around and explore the world and not confined to specific spots or lines, and that's a major component of all my favorite VR games. The trade-off is, of course, reduced comfort, but in my opinion it's worth it. Even when taking on the Fusion Worlds mode alone, Fusion Wars is a lot of fun and very challenging, and the game shines even brighter in co-op play. There are only two things that might turn off potential players. First, the game has a bit of a steep learning curve. The controls are laid out well, but it can still take 30 to 60 minutes of practice until you really feel the synergy with your tank, and it doesn't have the immediate pick-up-and-play feel of other games. Second, the game is still in early access, meaning there's not many people around online, and the game can feel a bit unfinished in certain spots. The developer clearly states this on the Oculus Store, but that doesn't change the fact that you're paying $7 for a beta release. It gives you the opportunity to provide input to improve the game, but that kind of thing doesn't appeal to everybody. Still, that didn't stop me from thoroughly enjoying the game. Even in this early access form, the game provides a lot of high-quality content for the price. With a few improvements to the online multiplayer functionality and competitive core battle mode, you have a fantastic GearVR title here. If you're into fast arcade action and have the stomach for it, I encourage you to check out Fusion Wars. Thanks for watching. Got something to say about this video, an opinion of the game itself, or VR in general? Leave a comment to let me know what you think. And if you like what you saw, and you want to see more of this, hit the like and subscribe buttons. Remember, there's a new video every week, and be sure to check out my other reviews as well. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.